Now, Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, also known as Mortal Kombat 8, or simply MK8 or MKDC, however you want to put it. Now, the strange part about this game is that not only is it rated T, unlike every other game that's rated M, we'll get into that in a bit, but also, even though it wasn't part of the canon, it wasn't like part of the canonical, like the story, it was still it's still considered the eighth game because it was the eighth one in the installment, or the eighth installment in the franchise. So let's get into some of the ratings right here. So Google, the average rating from the Google audiences or from the people who posted on there, 84%. Now let's see what the other sources rated it. The Game Rankings gave it 77. Metacritic, 76. Game Informer, 85. Game Pro, 80. GameSpot, 75. Game Trailers, 74. Giant Bomb, 100. IGN, 75. OXM, 85. XPlay, 60. So most of the reviews on here are pretty good. One has 60, one has 100. I don't see, this is the first game that actually got 100 from some source, even though most people think that the other games are just that much better. But this is still a good game. The reason why it's rated T is because, one, even though it does have the fatalities, they're not quite as explicit and gruesome as every other game is. Also, so this game has, so you have a storyline and it shows a story on two sides. Now, you have 10 characters, 10 playable characters from the Mortal Kombat side, and then you have 10 playable from the DC side. And looking at the 10 on the Mortal Kombat side are Jax, Baraka, Shang Tsung, Kano, Liu Kang, Kitana, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Sonya, and Raiden. Now, on the DC side, you have Deathstroke, Lex Luthor, Green Lantern, the Joker, Captain Marvel, the Flash, Catwoman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Now, there's also an extra, so they have 2 DLC characters, downloadable content characters. On the Mortal Kombat side, that extra person happens to be Shao Kahn, who is normally the boss character for most Mortal Kombat games. And then you have, on the DC side, you have Darkseid, who is like usually the main bad guy for them. Now, according to what I had read not too long ago, on the Mortal Kombat side, Quan Chi and Kung Lao were considered to be DLC characters. They were planning on making that, but unfortunately that deal got canceled. And on the DC side, they were planning on having, I think, Doomsday and Harley Quinn. That deal also got canceled. Now, just to kind of give you a little bit, so the story is, basically on the Mortal Kombat side, it shows that Raiden and his allies are dealing with Shao Kahn, and they defeat him by knocking him into a portal. On the DC side, they're dealing with Darkseid. They ended up knocking him into the same portal, but from the opposite side. So what happens is the portal gets out of control, and it explodes, and the explosion causes Shao Kahn and Darkseid to morph into this monstrous being known as Dark Khan. Dark Khan, who is a non-playable character, was the boss character for this game. And again, it's rated T, like I said, because it wasn't really bloody, but the fight scenes were still epic. I still think it had a good story to it. You can actually watch both sides of the story on YouTube, which I'll put in the comment section below. Now, let's see, when this game first came out, this game came out in 2008. I had played it a good amount. I watched the story again not too long ago. I think it's well worth it. I think it's a good game, especially for the teens and young adults. You guys check it out and you kind of decide what you think about it. Let me tell you what some of the ratings are, or I already told you the ratings, but let me tell you what some of the comments are in regards to the game. One person here says, warning, spoilers. 2 worlds collide in Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe with an original story that will surprise comic book and video game fans alike. While it does get some heat for being a T-rated video game, once you sit down and actually play it, you find it more fun than one is led to believe. The game features 22 playable characters, with 2 of them being unlockable. So Shao Kahn and Darkseid, as I stated, those are the unlockable ones there. I'm not going to spoil too much there because all he did was list it. Next person says, I love this game. I grew up with it when I was younger, and it was one of the first games I ever played, as well as my first Mortal Kombat game. While I don't have it anymore, it does a great job at combining both the best aspects of the Mortal Kombat and DC universes. Also, it really serves as a foundation for the Injustice series. It really served as a great gateway entry for me and got me into the MK and DC series. While it is more in the vein of the 3D era of Mortal Kombat games, such as Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon, it really is not as bad as many say. The graphics and gameplay are solid, and the game is probably the best entry for younger fans looking to get into the Mortal Kombat series. Overall, I highly recommend this game for really anyone. Another person says, this game was well balanced for a 3D fighter. Some of the plot points in the game was, well, odd to say the least. The game took place before Deadly Alliance, as well as before Darkseid was killed by Superman in the Justice League cartoon. But the constant power shifting was a necessary evil, as there was no way some of these characters could fight each other. Something that is ignored in the current MK and Injustice series, as well as the story played on the fact that the player already know everything about both of them, which, let's face it, most of us who grew up watching JL cartoon and playing MK didn't. I'm not sure. Overall, it was still a fun game, and I find it sickening that some people hate it just because there's not brutal kills in it. So, and here's what a 3-star said. I played it a couple times. It says, I played it a couple years ago, and the game had a good concept and story, and the game was similar to the 2011 reboot of the original Mortal Kombat. However, looking back at this game, it looks like they gave old fatalities to some DC characters. For example, Shang Tsung had a clown-like fatality in MK 2011, and they just gave it to the Joker in this game. Later DC games had Mortal Kombat crossovers like Scorpion and Injustice, Gods Among Us, and Raiden as a DLC for Injustice 2. Still, this game is very nice, and I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 and 7 out of 10. Not terrible. I like it a little bit, but the fatality should have been better, and they should have made it where you can go back and play certain chapters, and they should have added DLC characters. So, I tend to agree with a lot of that. And like I said, I can put the full story of both sides of the game in the comment section so you can watch it yourself and you can judge the story. And the game is available on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It was the first Mortal Kombat game to actually be on those systems. Every other game before them came out on, well, every system before that. PlayStation 1, 2, original Xbox, Sega Saturn, Nintendo. So, you kind of get the point. So, all my Mortal Kombat fans and some DC fans, check out the game.